1944 marked a turning point in the Pacific. The vast ocean was now a battlefield, as the Empire of Japan's expansion met fierce resistance. The United States, recovering from Pearl Harbor, was pushing back, one island at a time. Each victory brought them closer to Japan. The fighting was brutal, the cost in lives immense, but American momentum was building. On remote islands, young men prepared for the next clash, knowing the stakes. The Japanese military saw the Americans closing in. The Mariana Islands, Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, were now the focus. If these islands fell, American bombers could strike Tokyo. For Japan, holding the Marianas was a matter of survival. Two massive fleets prepared for confrontation, the largest naval forces ever assembled. The American Fifth Fleet, a symbol of industrial might, boasted more ships and planes than any before. The Japanese mobile fleet, though smaller, was filled with experienced sailors and pilots ready to fight to the last man. The fate of the Pacific War would hinge on their meeting. For the Americans, victory would open the door to Japan's homeland. For the Japanese, defeat would be catastrophic. The ocean was deceptively calm, submarines prowled below, scout planes searched above. The greatest carrier battle in history was about to begin. The world watched, breath held. The stakes could not have been higher. The outcome would change the course of World War II. The Pacific awaited its decisive clash. The world was about to witness history. This battle was no accident. It was the collision of two grand strategies. The U.S. island hopping plan targeted key islands, not every outpost, to speed the advance and save lives. The Marianas were the next step, putting American bombers within range of Japan. For Japan, this was an existential threat. Their answer, Operation Ago, a desperate gamble to lure the U.S. fleet into a decisive battle. Japanese commanders believed their longer-range planes and land-based support could tip the scales. The American invasion of Saipan forced Japan's hand. The mobile fleet sailed to intercept, determined to sink the American carriers. Japanese confidence was high. They trusted their pilots' skill and aircraft range, but the Americans had broken Japanese codes and anticipated the attack. The Fifth Fleet was ready, positioned to protect the Saipan landings and meet the Japanese head-on. The U.S. plan? Let the Japanese come, use radar to detect incoming planes, and form a deadly fighter screen. Both sides were poised for a clash that would decide the Pacific's future. The Marianas became the focal point of the war. The outcome would determine who controlled the skies and seas. The Americans prepared their defenses. The Japanese prepared their attack. The stage was set for a battle that would shape history. Two strategies, two fleets, one decisive confrontation. The fate of the Pacific hung in the balance. The world's eyes turned to the Philippine Sea. The countdown to battle had begun. The future of the war would be decided here. The commanders of these fleets were masters of naval warfare. Admiral Raymond Spruance led the Americans, cautious, brilliant, focused on protecting Saipan. His carrier commander, Vice Admiral Marc Mitscher, was an aviation pioneer, aggressive and innovative. Together, they formed a formidable team. The Japanese mobile fleet was led by Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa, a skilled and daring strategist. Ozawa believed in his pilot's skill and the long reach of his aircraft. The American Fifth Fleet was a behemoth 15 carriers, 7 battleships, over 900 aircraft. Carriers like USS Lexington and Enterprise launched F6F Hellcats and TBF Avengers, tough, powerful planes. The Hellcat, in particular, outclassed its Japanese rivals. The Americans also had a secret weapon, the proximity fuse, making anti-aircraft fire deadly. The Japanese fleet, though smaller, fielded 9 carriers and about 450 aircraft. Their new flagship, Taiho, was state-of-the-art. The A6M0, once the world's best fighter, was now outdated and vulnerable. Japan's best pilots had been lost in earlier battles. Replacements lacked experience. The difference in technology and training would prove decisive. The fleets were ready, their leaders determined. The machines they commanded would decide the outcome. The Pacific awaited its reckoning. The stage was set for a clash of titans. The fate of nations rested on the men, the ships, and the skies. The greatest carrier battle in history was about to unfold. The world would never be the same. June 19, 1944, clear skies, and Ozawa put his plan into action. He positioned his fleet west of the Americans, just within range for his planes. At dawn, Japanese scouts found the U.S. fleet. Ozawa launched his first wave, 69 aircraft heading east. The Americans were ready. Spruance, focused on protecting Saipan, refused to be lured away. Radar operators detected the incoming Japanese planes over 150 miles out. The Americans had over an hour to prepare. Hellcat fighters launched, forming a massive aerial shield. The Japanese flew into a wall of steel. The Hellcats tore through the formation, shattering the attack. Those that survived faced deadly anti-aircraft fire. The new proximity fuses filled the sky with lethal shrapnel. Few Japanese planes even approached the carriers. It was a slaughter. Ozawa's gamble had failed. The American defense was nearly impenetrable. The first wave was decimated. The Japanese attack plan was unraveling. The Americans held their ground. The battle's momentum shifted. The cost for Japan was devastating. The day was far from over. The first attack was only the beginning. Ozawa, unaware of the disaster, launched a second, larger wave, 128 planes. American radar picked them up early. Hellcats pounced. The sky erupted in chaos. Dogfights everywhere. American pilots, disciplined and coordinated, dominated the battle. It was a one-sided slaughter, like an old-time turkey shoot. 97 of the second wave were destroyed before reaching their targets. Ozawa sent 2 more waves. Each met the same fate. By day's end, over 370 Japanese planes had attacked. More than 240 were shot down. The Americans lost just 29 aircraft. The Japanese carrier air groups were wiped out in a single day. The Great Marianas turkey shoot broke the back of Japanese naval aviation. The experienced pilots Japan could not replace were gone. The tide of the air war had turned. While the turkey shoot raged above, American submarines hunted below. USS Albacore torpedoed Ozawa's flagship Taiho. At first, damage seemed minor, but gasoline vapors spread. A fatal mistake with ventilation led to a massive explosion. Taiho sank. Later, USS Kavala struck the carrier Shokaku, which also sank. In one day, Ozawa lost 2 of his best carriers and hundreds of planes. Operation Eigo was in ruins. The Japanese fleet retreated. As night fell, Spruance learned the Japanese position. He turned his fleet west, pursuing the enemy through the night. The hunter became the hunted. On June 20th, Mitscher's planes would strike back. The Americans shifted from defense to offense. The second day promised more drama. The Japanese fleet was battered and on the run. The Americans prepared for the final blow. The battle was far from over. June 20th, Mitscher saw one chance to strike. The Japanese fleet was at extreme range, but he ordered a massive attack over 200 planes. The American pilots found the Japanese at sunset, facing little opposition. The carrier Hiyo was sunk. Zuikaku, Chiyoda, and a battleship were heavily damaged. The attack was a success, but the return flight was perilous. Night fell. Fuel ran low. Landing on carriers in darkness was deadly. Mitscher made a bold call. "Turn on the lights." The fleet lit up, risking submarine attack to save the pilots. Planes landed on any available deck, some ditched at sea. Rescue efforts were heroic. Of 209 planes, about 80 were lost, mostly to fuel exhaustion or crash landings. Most crews were saved thanks to Mitscher's order. The Japanese fleet limped away, battered and broken. The American victory was overwhelming. The battle was over. The Pacific balance had shifted. The U.S. Navy stood unchallenged. The era of Japanese naval power was finished. The Battle of the Philippine Sea was a disaster for Japan. 3 carriers lost, 2 more damaged, nearly 600 aircraft destroyed, and hundreds of irreplaceable pilots gone. The Imperial Japanese Navy's air arm was shattered. For the U.S., the victory secured the Marianas and opened the path to Japan. Saipan, Tinian, and Guam became air bases for relentless bombing of the Japanese home islands. The battle fundamentally changed the Pacific War. Afterward, the Japanese Navy was a shadow, ships without air cover, powerless against American might. The balance of power shifted permanently. The next major battle, Leyte Gulf, would show how far Japan had fallen. Their remaining carriers were used as decoys, almost without planes or pilots. The Philippine Sea battle removed Japan's ability to fight a modern naval war. It was the decisive blow that crippled the Japanese Navy. The path to Allied victory was now clear. The Pacific would never be the same. The end of the war was in sight. The Battle of the Philippine Sea remains the largest carrier battle in history. Its legacy is more than size. It marked the supremacy of carrier-based air power. Battleships faded, carriers became the new capital ships. Modern navies still follow this lesson. The battle highlighted the power of technology and intelligence. Radar, the F6F Hellcat, and the proximity fuse gave the US a decisive edge. Codebreakers let commanders anticipate every Japanese move. Leadership mattered. Spruance's discipline and Mitscher's compassion shaped the outcome. The battle was a lesson in strategy, preparation, and humanity. It was a clash that decided the fate of an empire and changed the world. Victory required more than courage. It demanded innovation and leadership. The echoes of this battle still resonate. The Great Marianas Turkey Shoot was the moment the Pacific War's tide turned for good. Its lessons endure in every navy today. The cost was high, but the impact was lasting. The world learned the true power of air and sea. The Pacific would never be the same.